Today I'm taking a look at the Y300 smartphone. This is from DOOGEE or DOOGEE, depending on how you want to pronounce it. You get a stand included in this bundle, and there is a 32GB micro SD card also in the pack. There's a tool for removing the SIM card tray, and there's also a nano to micro SIM card adapter protector, and there's a case. Here we have a headset. This has a 3.5mm jack, and you also have a microphone built into that. Nice little extra to include, user guide, and there is a UK 3-pin adapter with the USB port at the bottom, and of course a micro USB charging cable. Taking a quick look at the specs now, we have a 5-inch 720p display, and we can also see a quad-core processor, but note the increased storage size on this particular model, which is higher than most phones. You'll see here an acrylic cover with a cutout for the camera and LED flash that just slots into the four corners of the phone. Main camera here is rated to 8 megapixel, and next to that is an LED flash. On the top section we have a 3.5mm headphone socket. There is a glass cover on the back of the phone. This is Gorilla Glass, the same covering that's used on the front of the phone. Here we have the metal bezel, extends all the way around the phone, and this is the SIM card and memory card holder. On the other side here we have the low profile, volume and power buttons. On the underside we have a micro USB port with a plastic surround, and we have two speaker grills, but there's just one single speaker in the phone. This is the tray for the SIM card or memory card holder. You have a choice of 2 SIMs or 1 SIM and a memory card. The resolution of the screen is 720p, which gives it about 295 pixels per inch. You'll also see good viewing angles here, and we have a smooth finish on the edges of the glass. They call it 2.5D. Looking at the user interface, you'll notice that it's a customized interface from the maker, and they also have put the navigation buttons on the display rather than separate. You have a fair number of apps included. There's not too many junk apps in this particular phone. Some of them are actually quite useful. One of the nice features of the phone is the included rotary dial floating dock here. You can select from a few options. It gives you quick access to some of the modes that are available, for example a game mode and a reading mode, and a description of what each one does. You can move this around on either side of the screen. This is running a more recent 6.0 version of Android. There are a few extra features in here, but a couple of the more useful options in the menus. There are quite a lot of gesture modes as well as the standard settings. But first of all, we'll take a quick look at the LED notification light. You have 3 different colours for this. That's an often overlooked feature on phones, and it's nice to see you have a different coloured one to indicate charging and if you've missed an event. If we go down to some of the other settings, standard sound and notification, not much has changed there with Android 6.0. The gesture unlock's quite good. There's quite a lot of these gestures. You can also program your own ones into the menus as well, so you can use different characters and numbers. The floating gesture is the one that you see on the right hand side there, the rotary dial. We also have some sensor settings, so that we use the proximity sensor. A couple of nice ones in there. There's a car one as well, just here at the bottom. I want to show you that. You can answer the phone if it's in a car mount just by putting your hand over it for a couple of seconds. There's also a memory management in Android 6, which will give you an idea of how much memory you've been using. You can change the time period for that. With Android 6 you now have 3 individual volume controls for the notifications, and the music, and the alarm clock and timer. When the battery has finished charging, the LED light turns to green just to let you know that that's done. It's also possible to customize the drop-down menu layout. Another nice feature is the ability to video capture the screen, so you can actually review that later on. The resolution on that is 640 by 368 and it records the sound from the internal microphone. The custom lock screen on the phone allows you access to the calls, messaging and the camera. Controlling the front and rear cameras is done via the MediaTek app. It's fairly standard stuff. There's nothing outrageously different on this. You do have some degree of control over the process. Video is captured in 720p HD. It's not 180p. You also have an interval timer which you can set for longer recordings. Taking a look at some of the pictures I've taken on the camera, it doesn't do too bad. There is quite a bit of processing going on though. You'll notice there's a mixture of sharpening artifacts and noise reduction. This one was taken with an LED flash. Generally the pictures are quite well exposed and they've usually got the correct colour balance. Outside the pictures were generally well exposed, there weren't too many problems, and if we zoom in you can see that the details are quite good. The images aren't super sharp but they're not bad, they're quite good, they're quite acceptable for a phone of this price range. Now there is a HDR mode which is available which helps bring some of the highlight information back. That takes multiple shots at the same time. I also found the focus was pretty good too, didn't really have any problems with that, and in low light it did quite well. It raises the ISO, some cameras don't. You don't really get camera shake much with this one. They really need to change the processing a bit though, just to dial it back a bit. It's a bit heavy on the sharpening and the noise reduction, but you can try another app to get around that. Running Geekbench 3 now, the multi-core score was 1105, so it's not breakneck performance, it's quad core at 1 GHz, so I'm not expecting a huge score on this. Day-to-day performance was pretty good though. I didn't feel it was laggy, it was quite snappy, and I don't feel it's a problem unless you're really heavily into your benchmarks. It's about the same mark as the Xperia E4 or the older Moto G. 3D performance was slightly better than I expected, perhaps due to the 720p screen resolution, but it's got a half decent graphics processor in there, so for most normal gaming I think it's going to provide a satisfactory performance. Testing the GPS accuracy and update speed and locking ability, I use this app here. As you can see, it's recording with the red dot here. That's possibly the only disadvantage to using the screen capture mode, is that that dot appears on the footage. Back to the GPS, it did quite well. Accuracy was around 11 to 3 or 4 feet depending on how many satellites you locked onto, so using this for satellite navigation is not going to be a problem. It did quite a good job here. Quick note about the battery life with the handset. It's rated to 2200 milliamps an hour. In real world use it was actually quite good, possibly thanks to the quad core processor and the newer operating system, which seems to do well with battery management, certainly better than the last one, so I wasn't unhappy with it on that front. You'd be easily get a day out of the handset and possibly a day and a half if you're a lighter user. Onto the good points for me would be the build quality, very much a premium feel to this handset. Gesture support is also comprehensive, and I thought the 3D performance was pretty good. Bear in mind you also have a lot of storage with this phone. Most of these handsets have been going out the door with 16 gigabytes and you have 32 on this and a card included too. The negatives would be the no gyroscope, which means that you can't use it with the Google Cardboard, modest processor performance, and the camera app does need a bit of work to get the most out of the sensor, but it's quite a nice handset and it offers something a bit different in the market.